All right, and we are live. Welcome to Socratic Sunday, week number 3. Got a number of topics to discuss this week, some of which will be news as usual, but to be perfectly honest, watching a company collapse in like under 24 hours this week was fascinating. Anyone even vaguely adjacent to the VTuber space, I'm sure knows what I'm talking about, but watching VShojo go from titan of industry to completely gone in about 24 hours.
Completely gone.
Shit. Sorry. I was just making sure my title and category were correct on Twitch, which they are, because last week I messed up and for 2 hours they were not. And otherwise, I think we will discuss whatever chat would like to discuss, and the VShojo situation and some news. News I have not looked at for the day. I was at work. So who knows? Presumably something bad, right? That's traditional. Urgent need for, quote, global approach, end quote, on AI regulation, UN tech chief. I don't disagree, but that shit ain't happening. Oh, Jesus. Wildfires in Turkey spread as 14 killed in blazes sparked by record 50 Celsius heat wave, which is fucking stupidly hot. So like 145 degrees? Hold on. So 50 Celsius is, okay, no, it's 122 degrees, which is still stupid fucking hot. Plenty enough to kill you. But, yeah, that makes sense that would dry things out and start some wildfires. Country's fourth largest city on early Sunday. Bursa, apparently, is the fourth largest city in Turkey. And the highway linking it to Ankara, which is the capital of Turkey, has been closed down. Interesting. Jesus. Do not envy anyone in that position. A Kentucky Republican is apparently claiming that the DOJ is hiding behind the strawman Epstein victims argument in refusal to release files. It has been fascinating to watch the Republican base actually fight back for the first time against Donald Trump at some level. Just like, apparently the Epstein files were the thing that made some of them twitch. Because I was pretty sure it was nothing. Like, given all of the horrendous shit he's done, I didn't think that there was anything that could make Republican voters flinch, but apparently sex trafficking children is the thing. Oh, Jesus. That's just a horrific headline. Child who starved to death in Gaza weighed less than when she was born. Fucking Christ. Why do I read the news? Because it's important to stay informed and apparently depressed. Maybe that's just a side effect. Sure feels like an effect. Passengers evacuated from plane onto Denver runway after landing gear issue sparked fire and left one injured. That sucks, but it sounds like one injury is better than the whole plane going up. Heat advisories and warnings issued for Southeast and Midwest as temperatures and humidity soar. Yeah, I'm in Virginia. It's fucking hot. Head of China's famous Shaolin Temple under investigation on suspicion of embezzling funds. Not a good look. Vandals set fire to a mouse statue that's a TV star and mascot for a German broadcaster. What? I'm sure. That's fine. Philippine troops kill 7 communist rebels in latest flare-up of decades-long insurgency. I mean, that's a whole... Faith leaders hope bill will stop the loss of thousands of clergy from abroad serving U.S. communities. Best of luck with that shit. Let's see. Environmental news. Do we have anything of interest here? Apocalyptic Turkey wildfires again. Trans toilet rules, quote, may force Scottish museums to close. Yep. Because instead of saying that trans people can use the same bathrooms as other people, and in fact saying that men and women can just all use the same bathroom because it's just a bathroom, it's fine. The Germans have been doing this shit for decades. Like, there's one bathroom, and it's fine. Everybody just uses the bathroom. But no, we need to take up a bunch of extra space in buildings and make this divide. Whatever. I'm clearly on one end of the spectrum on that particular argument. New York City's air quality falls among world's worst as Canadian wildfire smoke blankets the Northeast. Oh, this shit again. The Hukar Confederation refutes the lack of rain warnings in the Dana that the Civil Guard reproaches the... I genuinely don't... Oh, in Valencia. Spain, I think. That was a series of words that I just did not understand until I got to Valencia. Cool. Anything else of interest? What's going on in the EU? Oh, the fucking trade deal. Okay. London Trans Pride sees record-breaking turnout of 100,000 people. That shit's cool. Way to go. I wonder what that is against the population of Britain, because I think Britain is 60 million, give or take. I always wonder about this percentage of the population because, obviously, not every trans person in the UK turned out for this. Um, or I suppose I should say came out. That seems more fitting. But that is a really significant number of people against the population. Uh, Jesus. Trump administration investigates Oregon's transgender athlete policies. It's a good thing that we've solved literally every other problem so that we can make sure to check on this. Like, it would be really sad if there were people, still starving. I'm glad we got that fixed. And also, income inequality and every other fucking problem in this country. I'm sorry. Astronomer enlists Gwyneth Paltrow to pivot after kiss cam scandal. What? I jumped to offbeat news and we're off to a great start. Wild. $850,000-year-old child cannibalism uncovered at Grandolina Cave. Okay. Most of a million years ago. Chuck E. Cheese employee arrested in iconic mouse mask for using stolen credit card, police say. Treasury opens Venmo payments for voluntary donations to reduce the U.S.'s $36 trillion national debt. Jesus. Newly discovered millipede compounds affect ant brains could inspire pain treatments? Okay, as a guy with chronic pain, I don't fucking like millipedes, but if they can fix my shit, go for it. Tortoise found nearly 3 miles from home after 16 days on the run. That tracks. Rare sea snails spotted along San Diego beaches. Hooray. Way to go, rare sea snails. Do we have anything else? Ooh, what's in anthropology news besides the child cannibalism case? Early humans survived in a range of extreme environments before global migration, study says. I mean, yeah, I kind of figured. God, I'm just sort of glancing at the list here, and I don't have anything that I have sufficient expertise to really speak on. Neanderthals followed rivers. No shit. Fucking. They needed water. Why the fuck would they have not followed river systems? Whose college graduate thesis is on Neanderthals following river systems? I'm not saying you should take the PhD away. I'm just saying. Unless you have some really compelling point to make, I would otherwise assume that Neanderthals followed rivers. 'Cause water. So that's basic run over of what news I've seen here. Otherwise, the V Shoujo situation is fucking nuts. Basically, for those who don't follow it, okay, wide scale. For those who are not familiar with the concept of VTubing, it is where you take a usually 2D, sometimes 3D model, map it to your face in the case of the 2D model, your entire body in the case of the 3D model, and then put that character model in a virtual space as basically a stand-in for you for the purposes of privacy, basically. Just if you are a more private person who wants to put stuff out on the internet, wants to interact with people, but doesn't want your face attached to it, VTubing is a really cool technology. Came out technically more than 5 years ago, but the really big boom was about 5 years ago. And there are a number of independent VTubers, more independent than corporate, but there are a few major corporations. One of them was VShojo. And Iron Mouse, who you may have heard of because she was the largest, highest subscribed streamer period on Twitch's platform at one point. Came out with a video earlier this week saying basically that the company that she was signed to not only owed her a significant sum of money, but owed $500,000 from a charity stream to the Immune Deficiency Foundation, which Iron Mouse supports because they helped her with her immune deficiency when she found out that she had that and was unable to afford treatments otherwise. So not only has this company not been paying their talent since September of last year, they have also been withholding $500,000 from a literal life-saving charity. After that news dropped, I think it was within 24 hours that literally every other person had split away from the company. Which was probably, 15 people, give or take, that were signed to the company. And all of them ended their contracts overnight. It's been fascinating to watch sort of the fallout of that, partially from some people who saw this coming and left early, and then from the people who were sort of blindsided by the announcement. But Iron Mouse is, I don't know her personally, but as far as I can tell, seems to be a genuinely good, nice, and caring person who was supporting a life-saving charity with her streams, or one stream in particular that raised the $500,000, and supports it several other times throughout the year with, there's a streamer called CDogVA who's not a VTuber, he's a Welshman living in Japan who uses a face cam. But they're very good friends, despite her living in Puerto Rico, him living in Japan. And they collaborate at least once a year to do a major charity drive for the Immune Deficiency Foundation. And apparently VShojo was hemorrhaging money for an extended period of time and not paying their talent, and didn't pay out $500,000 to a charity. Not paying out your talent is inexcusable. You're in a contract, you owe them the money. But to rip off a literal life-saving charity is just fucking wild to me. So I don't have any, like, incredible insights into that situation, but watching reporting from every side on that has been just enormously interesting, if nothing else. Uh, I don't have a lot of, like, hard, rigid rules that I live by, but don't rip off legitimate charities seems like a really good one. Yeah, it's. That entire situation is a clusterfuck. That said, could be worse. Could be $1 million that they owed to the Immune Deficiency Foundation. That said, the Immune Deficiency Foundation, funny enough, did get $1 million this week because of Iron Mouse's video. She then put up a like the one bit of good news to come out of this was she put up a charity thing for the Immune Deficiency Foundation, and within about 24 hours of that initial announcement, it had raised heavily from other streamers, but also from just people chipping in, over $1 million for the Immune Deficiency Foundation. And I want to say, president of the Immune Deficiency Foundation put out a statement thanking Iron Mouse and everyone who donated. So, like, the silver lining of the complete shit show was that they got even more than they were already owed from that stream. Now, obviously, I think Bishojo still owes them that and they need to pay it out. But it's one of those things that, like, that money is theoretical until Bishojo pays it out. The $1 million that they raised this week was real, so good. If nothing else, that is great. Anything else is, as I understand, down to a whole bunch of lawyers. But the impression I get is that Vishojo is basically completely insolvent and does not have the money. So it's a question of, like, if these streamers pursue legal action against them, is there any major positive outcome that they can get? And the answer to that is I have no fucking idea. Check in again with me in like 4 years when the lawsuits finish. But the reality is that a company screwed some people over, disintegrated overnight, and in the wake of that, a life-saving charity did, in fact, get an additional $1 million. So there is positive news, which is nice. You know, I'm definitely someone who likes to read positive news every once in a while. It fucks with my sense that the world is completely terrible. Do I have anything else to talk about? I could talk about, I have an upcoming podcast coming out with some friends on a channel called Get Cultured Reacts. We recorded our first podcast last night. I need to edit it down a bit, but otherwise, that is looking like we will hopefully have that out within the month. We're trying to build up a bit of a backlog so that we can have time between recording videos and releasing videos. Just for our own comfort. We're all people who are adults that work and don't necessarily have time to, like, a consistent time to edit down stuff and put out videos. So we are trying to set it up in such a way that we've got a backlog prior to putting stuff out. Our first podcast was we were discussing the movie Sinners, as well as the first 5 episodes of The Expanse. Eventually, that will become a reaction channel once, speaking of VTubers, my 2 friends who I'm doing this with have their VTuber models up and running. But otherwise, I am looking at. I'm going to be just me. We'll have a camera on me, but the other two in the room will be VTubers. And the idea is that we'll react to stuff and then discuss it, like our immediate feelings, and then the podcast, which we've called Stale Popcorn, uh, is a week later when we've had time to sort of gather our thoughts and potentially even do some research, look up some sources, depending on what kind of movie it is. So I'm looking forward to that becoming a thing. At the moment, we have some more work to get done before that channel really goes live, but I've got the channel locked down. Fortunately, both of the other individuals involved are artists, so they're making their own VTuber models and can make like a banner and a profile picture. Because I mocked up a profile picture, but it looks less than wholly professional. So I am hoping that we can get stuff together on that, but right now they're primarily working on getting VTuber models up and running, because none of us have ever done that before, so first time for everyone. Our real fun is going to be none of us have an editing background, so we just are going to need to learn that. Which is fine. Picking up new skills is rarely a problem. So, I guess if we're talking my personal life, I have finished book 7 of The Expanse, and I'm like a little under 200 pages into book 8. Still enjoying it, having a good time. The show wrapped up after book 6, and I think it would be very funny if Hollywood did the Hollywood thing and brought them back in 20 to 30 years, because the time gap in the books between book 6 and 7 is about 30 years. So the idea of bringing the whole crew back at that point is very funny to me. But otherwise, I'm enjoying the books. I don't know what I'm going to read after I finish The Expanse, because I've got book 8, book 9, and then the book that's just a compilation of all the short stories. I have the Silo books, which I've heard are good. I've got the box set of the first 3. I also have been meaning to read Priory of the Orange Tree and Gideon the Ninth, both of which I've heard are very good. So I will be interested to see what I go with. What I'm in the mood for, I suppose. Because I would like to read the Silo books before I go and watch the second season on Apple TV. Because the first season I very much enjoyed, which is why I bought the books, but I'd like to go ahead and read the books and then go back to watching the show. Otherwise, I don't have a ton to talk about. I was a little bit counting on people to come in and provide some topics, but I can go ahead and yap like it's a several-hour podcast of just me. I'm more than happy to do that. In point of fact, the coffee will help, which is hopefully cool enough that I can drink it. Still a touch hot, but not too bad. I am at least in the correct category, so, because last time when people weren't joining, I realized it was because I was in the wrong category for 2 hours. I am at least in the correct category, but I also know it's Sunday night and a lot of big streamers are going. So it does not shock me that I'm not enormously busy. Socratic Sunday may eventually become a different day. I just liked the alliteration because I was already streaming on Sundays, but it's entirely possible that that will change over time. And I also am going to be working seasonally at a local farm this fall, probably about 52 hours a week, possibly with another 8 at another place I work. So I will continue to stream, but the schedule may change up a bit. So I'm hoping that I can continue to do 4 days a week in that time period, but I'm not sure. That may be a question of condensing like a couple streams into one and just doing a longer one day of the week. And it also depends if we have the Get Cultured Reacts channel getting off the ground. I may devote a little more time and focus to that. I'm doing streaming as a hobby, and we're doing the Get Cultured Reacts thing as a hobby. But on the off chance one or the other takes off, that may command a little more focus on my end. Whew, I do apologize. I'm quite tired. I got 3.5 hours of sleep last night, which isn't awesome. Fortunately, today at work was not horrifically taxing, but I definitely am feeling it. So this podcast may run a bit shorter. Particularly, I find it very easy to go ahead when I've got people in the chat and talk back and forth. But the reason that I started doing gameplay as well was that I started out trying to be a just chatting channel and determined very quickly that without a chat to bounce off of, it's just a 4-hour podcast of me yapping. Which I can do. I've been a DM in D&D long enough that I can sit there and yap for hours at a time, but it's not really what I was picturing, and it's not sufficiently mentally engaging to keep me very awake. Whereas if I am processing information or questions from the chat, I tend to be just fine to continue for hours at a time. Not unlike D&D, actually. Like, I would have trouble sitting there alone in a room and yapping for that long, but when you're bouncing off the other players, it's a collaborative effort and keeps you engaged. I really need to get a D&D game together, but right now my schedule is so uncertain that I have not had a day that I could set aside specifically for that. Fortunately, I am in a game, which I'm enjoying, but it's a relatively short-term game, I think. It was going to be a one-shot, it's turned into a 3-shot, which I don't mind. Just about every one-shot I ever ran, except for the one that my mother played, turned out to be 2 or 3. But the one that my mother was playing and I knew she would only play the once because we'd asked her to play, it was me, my sister, my dad, and my mom. And my dad, my sister, and I all really enjoy D&D, and my mom is not generally into that, so she was willing to give it a try, and I was like, this has to end after 1, because if she doesn't dig it, it's going to end after 1 either way. And that one worked out, so... I mean, she even had fun just spending time with us. She just didn't enjoy the D&D part of it. Is there anything else I can think of off the top of my head that's happened this week or in the news, or... I mean, shit, I could talk history, anthropology, politics, whatever people are in the mood for. It's purely a question of what other people would be interested in talking about. And for the moment, I'm just kind of sitting and sipping my coffee, so it's now cool enough that I can enjoy it, and I'm not in a hurry. I don't know if I mentioned last week that I had watched, I had finally gotten around to watching the Daredevil Born Again that Disney did. It was great to have that cast of characters back as someone who really loved the Netflix ones. Would love to get more Jessica Jones or Punisher stuff. I'll pass on Iron Fist, thanks. I'd be down for more Luke Cage. I don't know what that actor is doing these days, actually. But more John Bernthal as Punisher, please. I was so happy when I heard he got that role. Ooh. Is there anything else? I watched Sinners, which I mentioned. And if you've not watched Sinners, go do that. If you have access to HBO Max or whatever, yeah, it's really fucking good. Anything else? Jesus, I'm very tired. This may be like an hour and a half stream because I am kind of running on fumes here, and I am probably gonna sleep pretty hard after the stream. Tomorrow, for the Monday stream, I should be perfectly fine. Because I'm gonna sleep tonight and should be just fine by tomorrow morning. But I am definitely tired, and as I'm discovering more and more, I'm not 18 anymore. At 30, I don't bounce back quite as well as I used to. Which is as frustrating as it was predictable. But, oh well. Time marches on, apparently. It's kind of a dick about it when I come to think of it. Heard something years ago about aging isn't for the faint of heart. Or I had a guy come up to me one day, a guy probably in his like 80s, maybe 90s. It was like, don't get old, kid. I was like, beats the alternative. And he was like, fair. So we just talked. I was back in my EMT days. You have a lot of good conversations with people doing that, especially because you're sitting there with nothing to do, basically. But I do miss being an EMT. I'm not super sad that I missed out on the COVID era as an EMT. Especially, like, my mother was a nurse in that era, and, you know, there were better things to be doing at the time. Well, I say there were better places to be, like, when you're considering your own mortality, but when you're considering the mortality of others, nurses were incredibly important. And did we, band together and get them pay raises? No, we clapped for them or some shit. Called them heroes. Note to anybody in the audience, if anybody ever calls you a hero, they're about to screw you over. At least in the US. I suspect that's a worldwide phenomenon, but in the US, anybody who is considered a hero is getting underpaid and overworked. I am... Whew. Hell, I'm half tempted to just switch back over to Stalker, try and bang out another video of that so I can finally move on to another game. Ooh, God. Sorry to sound like a broken record, but I am definitely feeling it. It's not even the amount of work I did today. It was just being in the heat and humidity is fucking awful. especially as a person who, like, I've always been kind of a furnace. So, like, as a kid, I started snowboarding when I was 9, and I put on, a jacket or whatever to go out snowboarding, and my uncle was like, no, you need to layer up, you need to add more layers. And so I was fucking 9, I couldn't really say no. So I added a bunch of layers, and by the middle of the day, I was taking them all off. And then I was snowboarding, pretty regularly for until I was 19 or 20. And when I was 15, my mother came out snowboarding with us, and I pulled on a jacket and my patrol vest because that was the year I joined ski patrol. And my mom was like, "That's not nearly enough layers." And my uncle looked at her and went, "No, he's fine." Like, I generate heat, which makes winters incredibly comfortable for me, but summers really, really suck, especially given the humidity on the East Coast. Particularly Virginia and anywhere south of Virginia. I learned when I went to California when I was like 16, that 100 degrees is not necessarily terrible. 100 degrees in an arid environment is fine. It's like 70 degrees where I'm from. Uh, Turns out humidity has a real effect on how you feel day to day. Pardon me. But in me, sort of a bone deep weariness is what I tend to get in the summer. Mostly because I have no way to really avoid it. Like, you can try and stay inside, but sometimes you gotta go out for something, and it is not great. I really feel for anyone like me who's an outdoor laborer in the summer, but I genuinely don't think I would survive. I know that you can drink an amount of water that makes you functionally immune to heat stroke, but you pretty much want to die after doing it. It's something like 11 liters of water a day makes a human being basically immune to heat stroke. We figured this out when we invaded Iraq and Afghanistan back in '03. Or '02, '03. Yeah, whatever. But basically, it was a bunch of guys in full kit who were not doing well in the environment and like regularly passing out from dehydration. And so they had like a buddy system where you would literally have to just constantly down an absurd amount of water per day to guarantee that you wouldn't have heat stroke. Didn't sound fun. That wasn't one of the reasons I didn't join the military, but there were a lot of reasons I didn't. Only one I ever considered was Coast Guard, only because Coast Guard pararescue looked like my kind of crazy. It's like, oh, a guy had a heart attack on a fishing boat in the Arctic. Let's just fly a helicopter nearby, jump 40 feet out of it into the water, no rope, just jump, get on board and render what medical treatment we can. And I'm like, that looks cool as fuck. So the Coast Guard was the only one that I considered joining, though I did have significant moralistic objections to their drug interdiction work. But it all kind of became a moot point when I was 21 and got physically disabled. So I'm 4F for any branch of the military these days. And for the last 9 years. Not that they'd wanted me enormously before that. I am asthmatic. Not that much matters because it's exercise induced for me. And I hobble around on a cane all day. So I kind of can't have asthma attacks these days, which is kind of a convenient side effect, question mark. Probably not worth getting crippled over, but sure. Take what you can get, I suppose. I am in dire need of, I don't know. You know those big damn walk-in freezers they have at like Costco, where like the guys walk in and stock the shelves from behind. I want to go lay down in one of those right now. Just freeze my entire body. I would really love that because God, outside sucks really bad right now. And I could only kind of bitch because at least it's not 122 degrees like it was in Turkey, which kicked off some wildfires. So, for me, could be worse. And it's one of the reasons I love working at the local farm that I work at in the fall. Um, but it's in the fall. So we start like mid September. So it's a little warm when we start. And then towards the end, people are like coming in with jackets or sweatshirts. And I'm just sitting there in a polo all day. People are like, "Aren't you cold?" I'm like, "Comfortably, yeah." It's where I want to be. I like being cold. And when you add that to the fact that I'm not as cold as anyone who's asking that question, yeah, I'm fine. I always got weird looks when I would rock up to a bus stop in high school in a t-shirt and people are like, "It's like 40 degrees out." I'm like, "Yeah, put a sweatshirt on if it's 30." Now, I say this as someone who was literally a medical professional in a cold environment with ski patrol. So I'm well aware that that can end badly, but by and large, not a huge issue. I did make a mistake one time working in ski patrol. It was funny. I was up in, so we were an inverted mountain, where we had the lodge on the top instead of the bottom. And so I was in the lodge, up top, in the ski patrol room, where we would station like one or two people throughout the day, and they would come in and be there in case a patient like walked in instead of being injured and then brought to the patrol room. And we had a guy right outside the door, maybe 50 yards away, uh, fall and hit his tailbone getting off the ski lift. And I was there and I had my vest on and a t-shirt under it. And I was like, he's only 50 yards out. It's not a problem. So I didn't bother grabbing my jacket. I went to help the guy, and it turned out A, he hit his tailbone really fucking hard, so he couldn't walk, and B, he had fallen under a snow machine, like a snow making machine, that was just blowing manufactured snowflakes down on him. And because I had to go and help the guy, and so we were out there for like 25 minutes, and we got a toboggan over to him. It wasn't even that long. It was maybe 10 minutes. It just felt really long. And one of the patrollers looked over at me and was like, "Do you want to go inside?" I'm like, "I mean, yeah, let's get the guy over there, but yes." Because I was pretty well shivering at that point. Funny in hindsight, felt very dumb in the moment. That is the other problem with coffee being my caffeine of choice. Is I make my own just in a pot. Not I grow my own coffee beans. I use a coffee pot in my house. And if I were a man who cared enough to do it, I could make the coffee and then bottle it and drink it cold, like I fridge it and bring it out the next morning. But I'm a lower maintenance kind of dude, so I just make the coffee and drink it. And when I'm working on the farm in the fall, oh, that nice warm drink on those nice cool mornings, oh, phenomenal. You get that during winter, you get that during spring, but when summer rolls around, oh, it's hot, it's humid, and I'm drinking a hot thing, and I'm like, ugh. And it's my own damn fault. Like I said, I could cold brew it or make it and then cool it ahead of time, and I just don't. I will say, I quit soda 7 years back and switched to black coffee because I realized I was physically disabled and certainly did not need to be drinking my calories. That was just a dumb way to go about life at that point. And I have felt so good about that decision every time I walk past a soda aisle and see what the fuck they're charging for a 12 pack of soda these days. I'm like, Jesus, I got out at the right time. But yeah, honestly, these days I drink 1 to 2 coffees a day and water the rest of the time. And like once or twice a month, I'll have a hard cider or an IPA or some whiskey. So, like, those are obviously the expensive drinks that I have, but I don't drink them often enough that it's like a major monetary problem for me. So, not a thing I really have to budget for generally. Especially, oh, I got so lucky. I have a sister who works at a place at an airport, and there was a guy who couldn't take a like $60 bottle of Glenfiddich through imports and customs or whatever the yeah, he couldn't take the bottle, and so tipped it to one of the workers that my sister worked with who didn't drink. And my sister was like, I don't want it, but knew that I would want it. So I got for last Christmas a $60 bottle of 12-year Glenfiddich, which I never would have bought for myself. I'm an Evan Williams guy. Shit's cheap and goes down smoother than Jameson. But Glenfiddich is the good stuff. So I've had that on a couple of occasions, and it's very good. And my sister tried it. I was like, oh, this is the good stuff. She tried it, and she was like, I'm never drinking any of your other whiskeys if that's the good stuff. I'm like, fair. She did. I am not a rum guy, but my sister actually introduced me to a rum called Kraken rum that is very good. Because she went to Mexico with her girlfriend, and they discovered a drink called a mango colada, which is a pina colada but with mango. And you put rum in that, and there were two kinds that my sister came back with. There was the Kraken rum, which I think is good on its own or in the mango colada, and then there was a Parrot Bay passion fruit rum that was also incredible. Particularly in the mango colada, I didn't actually drink any of it straight because didn't feel a need. But as someone who does not tend to do mixed drinks, the mango colada is really fucking good. The other exception I make to the mixed drinks thing is my parents, when I was growing up, would make hot apple cider for Halloween because like they would give out candy, but they would also have a crock pot full of hot apple cider on a card table outside and a bunch of cups so that, you know, kids who were getting cold could come by and have it, and they would like store buy the cider and then put like cinnamon sticks and orange slices into it to like let those sort of percolate. It was delicious. And then when I was 21, I was like, you know, I have no interest in trying Fireball whiskey because it's just cinnamon and whiskey, and that didn't sound appealing to me. But I was like, what if I just add cinnamon and alcohol to this apple cider? And it turned out that was really good. So that's the primary mixed drink I go for, especially because the farm that I work on also makes a apple cider. And especially when we're working late nights, I'll get off at like midnight or 1 o'clock and grab some hot cider on my way out and just pour some Fireball in when I get home. I go through like maybe a bottle a year, but most of it in about a month. Between like when I'm working, or about 2 months when I'm working at the farm. I also, my coffee gets a lot less healthy because they make donuts on the farm and we get the ones that they don't sell. So they're, a couple days old, but they're free. And I'll take those home and have a donut or two with my coffee in the morning, which makes the black coffee a lot less healthy. But a lot tastier. Good Lord. I will admit, I am enjoying this, but I'm thinking that Socratic Sunday is one of those things that may jump around a few days until I discover a day where I tend to get higher engagement with chat. Just because the whole idea behind it requires multiple people to be invested in the stream. And I'm a small enough streamer. I've got a whole 30 followers, not even an affiliate. That there's no guarantee that someone's going to show up during the stream. So as much as I would like to, have a guaranteed discussion with the community every week, I may need to figure out what day that's most ideally suited to. I had a thought and I completely lost it. Turns out the ADHD part in my title is not a joke. But I definitely would like to get a day that works. And I recognize that streaming's sort of inherently unstable as far as what day people are available versus a number of other factors. But I also really would like to make this work because I think it's a really good idea as far as like getting engagement and having discussions that are interesting, and I can teach people about things and they can teach me about things. It's just a question of having that community and engagement to begin with. And that was kind of the thing I discovered early on, because this was originally going to be an exclusively just chatting channel. And when I determined that that was not feasible as a jumping off point, I started doing the gaming stuff broadly to amuse myself, and then I could talk to people in chat if they showed up. But to do a real just chatting stream definitely requires engagement from multiple sides, so at some level that's going to be a like technical foundations question, like when is the most ideal time for this? And it occurs to me that Sunday night is not necessarily it, just because as I glance at the streamers that I follow on the side here, there are a lot of people live right now that I'm in direct competition with, essentially. So, like, of the people I follow, Negorix, Giga, Chibidoki, and Loyalty are all streaming. And all but Negorix have over 1,000 people watching. And, I mean, I'm not in direct competition with, like, Chibi at all. Just different audiences. broadly speaking, but I definitely am streaming in the same time slot. So like there is no time slot where you don't have somebody big streaming. But I think putting this up against a lot of the bigger streamers may be a mistake in terms of actually getting viewer engagement. Or maybe, the viewers are out there and I just haven't sufficiently attracted them to my channel. I know that I need to do more advertising on like Instagram and TikTok. Because right now my go live messages go out on two things, which is Discord and Blue Sky. So I don't have the reach, particularly with younger people, that I could if I were actively using like Instagram and TikTok. But frankly, marketing myself is something I've always been fucking awful at. It's one of the things that's frustrated me in like a long job search is like I'm really good as an employee. Like once you get me there, I have a sense of professionalism that like it bothers me if I'm not punctual and doing good work. But the part where I have to sell myself to the company through interviews or resumes, I'm just not good at. I feel comfortable saying that my bosses would all say that I get shit done. And am good at particularly the customer service aspects of my job in the various places that I work. But getting other major companies to actually hire me, or even getting past like the AI review of the like I don't know how the keywords work. I'm just bitching about my own insufficiencies, but it's definitely something that frustrates me because it's one of those where I know that I'm a pretty good employee, but I'm apparently a fucking terrible applicant. And I don't know how to fix that, so who knows? As I've said before, I am entirely unbothered by rejection. Like I recently got a very kind like, hey, sorry, we're moving on with another candidate from, I want to say it was like a Liberty Mutual job I applied to, just like a call, not a call center, but like a work from home with a phone kind of deal. And I was totally unbothered by that because they took the time to reply, even if it was like an automatic. There was an email and there was a point of contact. It's the ones where you send out like 100 resumes and you just don't hear back from most of them that bothers me. Where I'm like, telling me no is fine, but making me feel like I'm screaming into the void is kind of a dick move. Ugh. More coffee. Sharpen my senses or something. I am glad to be here, streaming. I'm having a good time with that at least. I would certainly enjoy having a bit more chat interaction, but at the moment, I'm definitely enjoying streaming as a hobby, even if it never turns into anything larger than a hobby. That said, if people wanted to make me an affiliate and then a partner within like a month, that would be also fine. No objections. Also, I would need to, make a Patreon to really capitalize on that. See about that thing I'm talking about being bad at selling myself? It's not my strong suit. It's really not. Anywho, did I have other thoughts? I feel like I did. I have a million other thoughts. Do I have coherent other thoughts? Because that probably would help. Have I watched anything, done anything, hung out with anyone? No one that I haven't talked about. I don't know. It was my mom's birthday yesterday, so I'm looking forward to meeting up with her for lunch tomorrow or Tuesday. But other than that, I really am kind of hitting the end of my rope here as far as like topics. So I will go a minimum of another 25 minutes. If someone hops in, I'll happily go on with them however long they want to go. But for the moment, I think my hard stop is in about 25 minutes just because I do not feel need not even not don't feel a need, just like my motivation to continue is very limited when I feel like I've hit all of my points I wanted to discuss, and I don't have anybody to bounce off of. Which I also recognize is kind of shooting myself in the foot, in the sense that it's making my stream a less consistent amount of time, so people think that they could show up later, but I'm definitely hitting kind of a wall in terms of energy, which is fine. I'm happy to try and push past that, and will push past that if anybody's talking. But for the moment, I do not keep my view count up generally, but I just double checked because it's been very quiet in chat, and I am currently the only viewer of my own stream. Which is fine, but at present, it also means that I am yapping with myself, dancing with myself, whatever. Or dancing on my own. Dancing in the dark. Sure, we'll go with that one. Says the guy who hasn't been physically able to dance for most of a decade. Okay. Do I have... Jesus. I'm sorry. I was just looking to find more videos. Or not videos, topics to talk about, and I saw on Ukraine War Video Report that apparently there are Russian soldiers out in the field using horses, which is kind of wild. I wonder if that's a materiel problem or just a convenience. Oh shit, passenger train derailed in Biberach district of Baden-Württemberg in Germany today. Ooh, Jesus. I'm on the catastrophic failure subreddit now. I try not to be a guy who just reads Reddit stories, but I am looking for topics to discuss, seeing if any inspiration strikes. Unknown number of casualties, no deaths reported so far. Okay, well, that's positive. I will say, catastrophic failure has actually been a really fascinating subreddit in the past. Back in 2021, when the explosion went off in the Bay of Beirut, from the poorly stored ammonium nitrate, I saw that like 10 minutes after it happened because it was on catastrophic failure, and within half an hour there were like people were compiling different videos of different angles of it from the event, of like 10 different versions of the explosion from various locations in the city, because it was smoking for a while before it exploded, so there were a number of people filming it. But that was one where like I was way ahead of the news on that because I just saw the live video coming out of it, which was, I mean, genuinely fascinating. It's one of those, like, I don't follow it because I want to see catastrophic deaths or anything. It's one of those, like, it's sort of curiosity things, especially as someone with a medical background. The unknown ways that people can die or I can die, or the unknown risks that we expose ourselves to in a modern industrialized world day to day, sort of fascinate me. So I find that to be very interesting. And I mean, tons of insane disasters that just never hit the news are on the catastrophic failure subreddit. And most of them aren't even like video of what happened. It's usually pictures of the aftermath, just because, like, until something goes wrong, nobody's filming the thing. But I've learned a lot from that subreddit. And I really appreciate that there are a lot of engineers that sort of lurk that subreddit and can explain, like, what went wrong in a lot of cases. It's one of those things that, I don't know, makes me feel better informed about the world. Is there anything on news that I didn't read from ground news? Because ground news is my go-to these days, but I do occasionally glance through the news subreddit. Bunch of terrible things. Lauren Boebert's son charged with misdemeanor child abuse. I'm shocked. Seemed like such a lovely family. Oh, several killed in train crash in Germany. Presumably that is the same one. Let me see the picture. Yeah, same one. 3 people killed. Presumably a number more injured. Apparently some kind of mudslide onto the tracks that caused the derailment. I do find it fascinating when I can jump between subreddits to get the whole picture. Wildfires rage in Greece and Turkey. Oh, Alabama toddler dies in hot car while in state custody. That's fucking awful. Specifically a child protective services worker. Are you fucking kidding me? Jesus. What the hell? Christ. Billionaire Peter Thiel backing first privately developed U.S. uranium enrichment facility in Paducah. That dude needs to fuck all the way off. Apparently there's some shit going on in European football, and I care as little about it as I do any other time. Holy shit. Kentucky man wakes up during organ harvesting procedure, prompting federal investigation. Insert justified reference here. Fucking Dewey Crow having a bad day. So, sorry. I. What the fuck? Was this an illegal organ harvesting procedure? Or, like, a routine organ harvesting procedure where, like, we thought he was dead and he was an organ donor? Yeah. U.S. Department of Health and Human Services investigating organ donation practices after a Kentucky organization allegedly began harvesting organs from people who may not have been dead. Yeah, that's a problem. We should have, a death certificate from a doctor signed, like a physician that has signed off on a death certificate before we start harvesting organs. That feels like it should be an uncontroversial opinion, but, it's the internet, so I'm sure somebody has a stupid counter argument. It's traditional. Jesus fucking Christ. Family sues after funeral home sends son's brain in unmarked leaking box. Not a good look. Not a good look. Ancient Hawaiian petroglyphs on a beach are visible again with changing tides and shifting sands. I have to save this. Because my parents fucking love Hawaii, and I mean, so do I. I've been once, and I would not object to going back and just living there. Like, worst case scenario, I end up homeless, but I'm homeless in Hawaii, so could be worse. New Orleans officials mistakenly release inmate from same prison where 10 escaped in May. Was he like a murderer? Oh, they're threatening to add more charges because of their mistake. Love that shit. The fuck. Naturally, it's fucking Louisiana, but that is fucking stupid. Heat and humidity grip New York City as another sweaty summer week kicks off. Fuck me. Is there anything else? I'm certain that there is. Anything from Not the Onion? That is the other news that I read. That's effectively the offbeat section from Ground News. Suspect who killed his cheating wife, quote, knew he was going to jail, end quote, so he went out and murdered another man, cops say. Ending it with cops say does make me question all of the legitimacy, but otherwise, yeah, Jesus, that's... Was it a guy he had a grudge against, or he just wanted to kill a guy? Missionaries using secret audio devices to evangelize Brazil's isolated people. Fuck all the way off. Oh my god. 50 pounds of dynamite found in abandoned school bus. That's terrifying, by the way. So, for those who don't know, TNT and dynamite are two different things. TNT is trinitrotoluene, which is a relatively stable explosive. Dynamite is literally just nitroglycerin and sawdust. incredibly unstable, and it gets less stable over time. It becomes more volatile. It is horrifically, like, unstable. You start bouncing nickels off that bus or whatever, and, like, it maybe goes off. Quote, terrible racket, end quote. Bishop in dressing gown shuts down London choir concert. Fucking fascinating. California man accused of stealing Pokemon cards after robbing woman at gunpoint in Tyson's garage. Is that Tyson's Northern Virginia or Tyson's California? Like, I would assume California because it's California man, but Westwood Center Drive. Nope, Fairfax County, Virginia. So that one's relatively local to me. I'm not in Fairfax County, but I'm one county adjacent. Flagler government revokes permit for line dance competition, deems event illegal. Sorry, it's they're literally doing a Footloose. Nintendo insists Mario and Princess Peach are just good friends. It's been 40 fucking years, Nintendo. Give it up. Royal Caribbean crew member stabs colleague and then dies after jumping overboard. Sounds like the colleague did not die. Victim in stable condition. Okay, so, like, what? Oh my god. Kampala residents urged to learn how to swim as flood risk grows. Is that India? I think. Whereabouts is Kampala? It's in Africa. Uh, yeah, I will say if it's an actual like flood with moving water, swimming is not going to help you because floodwater is not what kills you. It's the shit that's being carried in the floodwater traditionally. You can drown, but most of the time you just get beat to death by whatever the flood has picked up. Police arrest man for running fake embassy and defrauding job seekers. To what end? Is this like a... Was he making money doing it? Was he just stealing identities? Why? I really have no... Well, I don't know what the website is, but it really sucks. This is fucking stupid. Grindr won't let users say no Zionists, which is a whole thing. So this is a person who went on there and was curious what they could add. And they confirmed that no Zionist was blocked, but apparently no Arabs, no blacks, no Palestinians, no Muslims, no Christians, no Jews, no trans, no Republicans, no Democrats were all totally fine. I mean, fucking Christ. Let's see. Research from Emory University shows that psychedelic mushrooms can decrease cell aging by 57%. It's made a lot of hippies really happy. Bitcoin will go up if more people buy Bitcoin and won't if they don't. Quote from Citibank. Yes, that is how currencies work. No shit. Scottish Silent Hill developer No Code has changed its name to Screenburn. Quote, we have coders now. Okay. Apparently they were using Unity previously, which apparently doesn't require coding. I would have assumed that it required at least a bit, but my knowledge of coding is pretty fucking limited. Closest thing I've done is HTML, which I know is not actual coding. Lying increases trust in science, study finds. What? Transparency about bad news, such as conflicts of interest or failed experiments, decreases it. The general public is too stupid to realize that pointing out failed experiments is actually more trustworthy than hiding them. Fucking Christ. Okay. That's really horrifying. Board members. TV in Ryan Walters' office displayed a nude woman during an executive session. Why? This is also a guy who's been screaming about getting the Ten Commandments into classrooms and Bibles as well. I'm shocked that he's watching softcore porn at work. That's couldn't believe it. Well, not that shocked. I'm sorry. This headline says serial butt sniffer arrested in California. I gotta agree with the first comment on that article. How many do you need to do before being labeled serial? Okay. It has been a relatively slow evening, so I'm gonna go ahead and wrap up the stream. I wanted to thank anybody who is watching the VOD in the future. For just listening to me yap. I hope my voice is at least soothing enough to fall asleep to. I know that some people have streamers they go to specifically for that, so here's hoping. But I will be back tomorrow evening, back into Stalker 2. I really would like to get finished up with that so I can hop into a new game. I'm looking to hop into a new old game, actually, Cry of Fear. And then that should be like maybe 2 streams, and then I'm hoping to hop into Wu Chang Fallen Feathers, which is basically a new Souls-like, but it's being described as like the level design of Dark Souls 1, which I loved, with the combat of Dark Souls 3, which I loved. So I'm definitely interested in that. Also, it supposedly has pretty generous parry windows, which I always appreciate because I am otherwise really shit at parrying. So hopefully we get to check those out soon. Thank you again to anybody watching this, and I will be back tomorrow at 5:30. Everybody have a good day, night, evening, wherever you are. Stay safe, and goodbye.